And welcome to another edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast. As I've been waiting weeks to get this fine gentleman on. Yes, joining me right now here on the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios is my great friend Anthony Nachreiner. He does a great job with Brevard Sports Network on play-by-play, high school football, and Knock on Bucs for his coverage of Buccaneers football. Anthony, how you doing today?
I'm great, Mark. It's Wednesday morning. We're halfway through the week. That means, I'm excited. I got high school football. I got a good one Friday night. And we're just, that much closer to week 2 action. I'm excited for week 2 for the Bucs, man.
All right, let's start with high school football. You've done about 4 games or so. I know you had the Kickoff Classic as well. That game, I want to start here. Last Friday night, you had a great game there at O'Galley, where late in the game, it looks like the Commodores, they cough up an onside kick, and then their defense takes over. How did they get the victory? I want your thoughts on O'Galley. Let's start there.
Well, I think O'Galley just did a fantastic job defensively. They did some really nice things to really frustrate the Heritage offense. They were able to kind of get Jordan Padala, off his mark, kind of out of rhythm. That was a tough thing for the Heritage offense. Most of the night was just they couldn't really get in rhythm. And it was tough for them because I think they went 7 quarters without scoring a touchdown. You go to 14-9 against Seminole. All those points came from the defense in that game against Seminole. They were able to put up 7 points in the fourth quarter with a great pass to Nate Owens, who had a lot of open field. But O'Galley was able to respond through some adversity. They looked like they were going to be in control of that game. And there were a couple instances, they got to clean some things up. The fumbles really hurt them. They had a couple of those. They opened the game. Heritage was able to it wasn't quite an onside kick, but the ball bounces off an O'Galley offensive player, and all of a sudden Heritage's kickoff team recovers it, and they start with the football on the opening drive. Heritage can't punch those things in. He doesn't get 3 points on that drive either. So for me, I think O'Galley, what we saw from them was Xavier Larice taking over as the quarterback. I think that's the way they're going to go going forward. And the way I think about it, you have one of the best athletes in the country, obviously, as a 4-star safety commit to Oregon, and also just one of the best athletes, pure athletes in Florida. I mean, he's in my top 5 of high school players I've ever seen. And you put him at the quarterback position, and he can make a lot of things happen. And it's also a transition. So I think that's where I think O'Galley's offensive struggles really were on Friday night against. And you know what? I'm not shortchanging Heritage's defense. They had a really, really good defense too. But I think for O'Galley, offensively, I think they're going to clean things up. I think every game that Larice plays at quarterback, he's only going to get better and better and better. It kind of reminds me of a situation I had in Montana. One of the best athletes was a safety, and going into his senior year in 2018, they switched him to quarterback. Well, throwing the football took him about half a season, and he was able to run the football. He had great speed, was a track star, all that stuff. He was able to run the football, and they were able to run the football effectively. But it really wasn't until the second half of the season where he was able to really hone in the passing game. And I think that could be the case here for Xavier Larice because he's a talented athlete. He has played quarterback before, I believe, in youth league, from what I understand. So I think Larice can do a lot of great things. I think it's just going to take some time offensively and being at the quarterback position to really get the points where O'Galley needs to be.
Here's what's interesting. I talked to Xavier right before the season. He's a great kid. I know his dad. He's excited to go to Oregon. He did not talk about playing quarterback, Anthony. That was not part of the plan, was it, Anthony,
No.
when you look at this team?
No, I mean, if you look at it, Joseph Allen did a lot of great things for them last season, taking them all the way to a Final Four, and Joseph Allen unfortunately gets hurt that first game against Vero Beach. And, that changes a lot of things. That changes the trajectory of how this season looks. It changes how this offense and how this team operates because, defensively for O'Galley, they had so many guys last year that were returners. They had so many new faces this season on that side of the ball. All right, well, the offense could carry them, but unfortunately now you lose your starting quarterback and a talented arm, as Joseph Allen was. It changes the whole direction of where this season goes, I think, for the O'Galley Commodores. Now, ultimately, their goal doesn't change, but do they have the horses in the stable to make another deep playoff run in their classification? Now, with a guy like Xavier Corbin, the talented freshman, Hey, they've got a lot of horses in that backfield. They've got a lot of talented football players. TJ Monroe as well. They get him involved in the running game. I love what they do in terms of the +1 running game. Essentially, you got everyone blocking. You got 10 guys blocking, and the quarterback just decides where the open hole is and gains, anywhere from 5 to 9 yards. I know people may not be familiar with FCS football, but you go back to last season for Montana State, who played in the national championship against North Dakota State. They had a quarterback in Tommy Mellott, and he was absolutely a king in how to run and be efficient in that offense. And you can still throw the football and be very, very good. You can get guys open because you force defenses to suck up into the run game, so that way you can try and throw it over the top. So O'Galley's got some growing pains in the offensive department, but I don't think their goals really change. It's just going to be how this thing really looks. It's not going to look the same as it did in 24.
Okay, I'll name drop one more time. So I texted Coach Sands on Saturday. I said, hey, your defense came up big in that fourth quarter. He said, thank you. The follow-up was, hey, can I get you on again before the Cocoa game? He's like, done. He's getting ready. I know he's got a big game coming up Friday night. He can't look ahead. But, dude, how big is that Cocoa? Even though Cocoa's 1-2, and I made a case earlier they should be 0-3. How big is that when you have O'Galley and Cocoa in a couple weeks here on the coast?
I mean, you got that game in 2 weeks. I mean, that's going to be a huge game, but O'Galley's got a lot to deal with. They got their hands full with First Academy coming to town on Friday. So you're right. They can't be looking ahead. And you know what? Cocoa's going to have their hands full on Friday with Heritage's defense. That defense is no joke. Again, there's a reason why they were able to, limit O'Galley's offense to what they did. And listen, Heritage's defense played phenomenal. If you could just get points out of them, maybe Heritage wins that football game, but it was their defense that really kept them in it. And I think Heritage's defense can play with Cocoa on offense, but the question is just going to be, what can Heritage's offense do against a very, very good defense in Cocoa? So both teams, as we get ready for that big matchup, honestly, I think if you're going to talk about two teams that could potentially end Cocoa's streak, I think you could look at the Heritage Panthers as a team that could possibly do it. And I think O'Galley's probably the best team to have, or the best chance to have, to knock off the Cocoa Tigers. But, I mean, hands full for both Cocoa and O'Galley this week and going into next week. So both teams can't look ahead. But, man, what a slate to talk about over these course of the next 2 weeks of high school football here in this county.
Yeah, it's only, the second week of September, and all these games are coming up. We're at the Anthony Nachreiner. Have you now called – I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you called Heritage for 2 games now? Didn't you have them in the opener, or am I crazy?
No. So I've had Vieira twice. I've had MCC once, and then I just had Heritage and O'Galley last week. This will be my second Heritage game this Friday because I got Heritage and Cocoa this Friday.
Ooh, very nice. I like it. 7 o'clock with the kick. All the games are going to be on. I know Brevard Sports Network. Alan's going to be on the call. 7 p.m. with the kick. Follow him on Facebook. And by the way, I just want to give you a shout out. You and Caleb are doing a great job. I hope you know that. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. It means a lot because, like I said, this is me kind of dusting off all the old, all the old papers and everything else, because it's been a couple of years since I've done some play-by-play and only trying to learn, because this is a completely different ballgame with streaming now and where I was in Montana, where I was doing 5 years of just radio.
My favorite part with technology is it's interactive, where you have the message board on the stream. Okay. So it's funny is people are like, hey, can we talk about this? You're like, I have to call the game. I know you're trying to.
Well, my favorite is when you say a kid's name wrong. I mean, you just hate that as a play-by-play guy, because you do try to get the phonetics right for last names, but man, it is tough if you don't get it right, and people will let you know.
Oh, I understand. No, you guys do a great job. So again, what game are you going to be calling on Friday, buddy?
I got Cocoa and Heritage, and I think this is going to be a really, really great game. I think this is a great test for Cocoa's offense. Again, you look at what Cocoa's had to go through the last couple of weeks, Vero Beach, and you look at going against Mainland. We know what happened in week 1 against Merritt Island. They were able to overcome a lot of adversity and a lot of turnovers. I think this is a great matchup for this offense to try and progress for Cocoa, because this offense they have to start taking steps in the right direction to get this offense going here, because obviously we know what the standard is at Cocoa High School. As you know, Coach Schneider talks about all the time, the standard is the standard for the Tigers, and this offense has to start living up to that standard here pretty soon. And you know, a game against Heritage with a good defense. This is that time because Heritage is going to be tough. They're not going to give you anything. You got to earn everything. They got some great players up and down that lineup. So, I mean, Coco's offense has to figure some things out and get the ball to their playmakers in any way that they can to try and put some points on the board because, again, Heritage is going to want to knock them off. Listen, every team in Brevard County this year, if you've got Cocoa on your schedule, is looking to knock them off and wants to do so and wants to be that team that ends that streak because I think it's at 25 or 26 games now that Cocoa hasn't lost to a Brevard County team. So, everybody's knocking on the door. They want a piece of the Cocoa Tigers to try and knock them off.
Yeah, Alan Slaughterzinski did the stat for us where 2019 is the last time they lost to a team in Brevard County. 6 years ago. That's almost as impressive as the 3 straight state championships. And honestly, dude, look, you're replacing your quarterback, who's the backup now for Texas A&M. Your number 1 receiver is now starting for Florida State. These are big shoes to fill. We're going to find out. And go ask Merritt Island. Yeah, they're still probably kicking themselves after losing in round 1.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, really quick. You know, when I was talking about Heritage's defense, you know, some of these guys you got to look at. You know, Xavier Cordero. You got Nate Owens on the outside. John White playing linebacker. You got J.O. Cruz as well. And listen, they got guys up front of the defensive line. Michael Stevens was the name I called a bunch last Friday night. He was causing a lot of problems in the O'Galley run game. Amir Parker as well, big-time disruptor, you know, 6'4", 250 pounds. So, I mean, this Heritage defense is no joke. The Coco's offense is going to have some answers to figure out how to get the ball behind this defense.
That's why they call them the Swarm Gang on Twitter X. That's right. That's what they do there at Heritage. All right. Whoa. How about Melbourne, your school? Hey, they're not. I talked to Jeff Benucci. He's got great energy. I know you know him. He's excited to finally take over that program as being a coordinator the last couple of years. Dude, they've got some W's so far of the year. What are your thoughts on the Bulldogs?
Oh, I know Melbourne's got to be kicking themselves for that Merritt Island game. You know, I mean, Merritt Island it's one of the more underrated, non-talked about rivalries. But man, Melbourne and Merritt Island, when they get together, it's usually always a slobber knocker. And you know, I know that game's got to be frustrating. They were up 14-7 at half, and unfortunately, some uncharacteristic mistakes. But you know what? I love what the Bulldogs are looking like. I love some of the young talent that they've got there. You know, Jeff Panucci's done a great job. I think that staff is doing a fantastic job as well. You know, that offense by Coach Robinson is doing a fantastic job as well. So I think Melbourne's looking great. I love what I'm seeing from them. The quarterback's doing a fantastic job. They're able to run the football. Listen, I think Melbourne's going to be a playoff team this year. I think the question is just going to be how far can they go with a young team?
I agree with you. All right, that's high school football. He's got a Buccaneers shirt on. Dude, let's just do this real quick. Sunday, wild. The last 5 minutes, I am yelling at the TV where I'm like, all right, Penix fumbled there. That's not a touchdown. That's a drop. That every play felt like we were in a playoff game. What were your thoughts on the win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Well, for one, that drive felt like it took forever because we were doing replays over and over again. And I'm still not really clear on that rule because I'm just like, wait a minute, he wasn't touched. So he dives. And so now automatically, like, when did that become a rule? You know?
He never goes out of bounds. You're right. No one touches him. He extends with the ball. The ball hits the ground. He fumbled the ball. I'm sorry.
I agree because, like you said, that's technically a fumble because nobody touched him. So, again, I really would love to know where that rule – where did that rule come from? Because I don't remember that rule ever being implemented before. But either way, listen, it wins a win. I did feel like we saw some shades of the defense from last year, which was very annoying. You know, again, Michael Penix threw for 298 yards. He led them down and got them into scoring position. That defense did a phenomenal job through the second quarter and the third quarter, you know, just kind of negating any points for the Atlanta Falcons. But Michael Penix was still able to throw the football and still able to find his targets and still able to pick up first downs. There was some missed tackling by the Tampa Bay defenders as well. So, you know, I'm a little concerned the pass rush wasn't getting there like I had hoped. Obviously Hassan Reddick getting a sack, that was huge. That forced Atlanta to kick a field goal. But I'll tell you this, there was a lot of anxiety in that final drive. I was thrilled with the way Baker Mayfield and the offense went right down the field, given how they struggled all day. Went right down the field. You find Ibuka, get him the ball, and he gets in there for a touchdown. We take the lead. I love that because we weren't settling for 3. We were going for the win. Love the aggression from our offense. And I think that it's just Atlanta's tough. I don't know why. Again, you look, and I think Fox even brought it up. You look at what our record's been the last couple of years against Carolina and against New Orleans. We're like 5-1. But we're 2-4 against the Atlanta Falcons in the same 6 games. And I'm like, why? Because if you go back, think about it like 2020, we had a winning record against the Falcons, and we had a winning record against the Panthers. It was the Saints that drove us crazy. But now it's the Falcons. I was just like, why can't we just dominate the whole division? Why does it have to be this hard against somebody within our division?
All right, let's go. Let's stick with defense real quick. All right. Second down. So the final 4 plays of the game. Second down. The play by Antoine Winfield was a Hall of Fame level play. If he doesn't time that correctly, it's kind of like, maybe the analogy would be in baseball where a center fielder jumps and robs a home run. If he misses that by an inch, that's a catch and a touchdown. Bang, right in the moment. Guy drops the ball. Then third down, what was interesting, all right, Penix throws a perfect pass on the left sideline. Jamel Dean from Coco, he kind of just touches the receiver, and the receiver loses the ball. So that's 2 straight plays. What did you think of that, especially on defense for the Buccaneers?
Well, for one, we were fortunate on both of those because, one, it looked like Penix threw a great ball, and luckily the receiver lost it because – Dean lost it too. Like I said, both guys on that lost it. They didn't know where the ball was because Dean was still looking as if he thought the ball was still in the hands of Penix. Antoine Winfield Jr. I think what we're seeing from Winfield Jr. is we're seeing that 2023 version, the all-pro safety version of Antoine Winfield Jr. because that was the type of play he made in 2023, and we need him to be that type of player in the back end because you're right. He timed that perfectly. And here's the deal too. Like Atlanta's put a few daggers in Tampa over the last couple of years. I specifically go back to that Thursday night game last year in week 5, that dagger at the end, and so this team, I don't know what would have happened because obviously I think Tampa would still have had time to try and maybe put something together. I don't know how much because I don't remember exactly how much time was left at that point, but still, I mean, just a great, amazing play from an all-pro safety and just a heads-up play just to knock the ball out, not go for the body, so that way the refs can't throw a penalty flag and call pass interference or anything like that. We did see the officials be flag happy throughout that ball game, and so that again, just an amazing play. I will say this though, Mark, I did have this one question because there was a sequence late as they were setting up to try and get into field goal range at the end of the game. I don't remember let me know if you remember this. They throw a ball to, it was either Bijan or Drake. I can't remember who it was, but he runs and he continues running. And then, he gives the ball and they spot it and then they spike it. So apparently the NFL decided that no, he stepped out of bounds. At this point, we're going to put 21 seconds back on the clock, even though a play has already run.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait a minute. When have we started that now where it's like, okay, we've already run a play, but now we have to go back and we can respot the ball and put time back on the clock. Because it was like 21 seconds. Atlanta was down to 9 seconds where they were at.
Yeah, I do remember this play. And both teams were completely confused by what was going on. Because I think their kickoff team was on the field and they're like, wait, what? And they had to go backwards. You're absolutely right. I'm going to say this to you. Penix looks like he's got some potential to be a good quarterback. I think his receiving core is trash. And I think if he can get a real wide receiver, because London, I do not believe in. If he had real wide receivers and tight ends on that final drive, he scores and they win that game. They do. I'm sorry. Were you impressed by Penix?
I was, because I was also like, why defense? Why is it always like, this is the frustrating thing. because Tampa does this. Their defense, like I can't tell you how many times, like you know what that drive reminded me of as they were going down the field. That drive reminded me because like Baker Mayfield throws a touchdown pass to take the lead. Reminds me when Tampa played Houston 2 years ago, and C.J. Stroud had like 47 seconds left after Tampa threw a touchdown pass to Kate Otten to take the lead, and C.J. Stroud just goes down the field to go win the ball game. And that was like C.J. Stroud's coming out party because he threw for 500 yards and all of that. And so, like, that's kind of how that moment felt to me because I was like, are we really reliving this? Because as we threw the touchdown pass with 59 seconds left, I was like, oh, that's too much time. I don't want to see Michael Penix drive down the field, especially after the Chase McLaughlin miss. But again, solid win. I love the fact that we were able to, in the spots we needed it most, get the plays that we needed. And obviously a little luck too, because Younghoe Koo got missed that 44-yard field goal. I'll take that any day of the week. But hey, 1-0 feels great, and great to go into Houston next week on Monday Night Football.
Ibuka, who you bring up, his first game in the NFL, 2 touchdowns. And dude, that pass by Baker Mayfield, oh baby, that was pretty. And I said this on Monday. I'm going to say it to you right now. We're here at the Anthony Nachreiner. When the Bucs got the ball, I believe in Baker Mayfield and this offense that they can throw it down the field. I know you feel the same way. And it's funny, what is the offense right now in a 2-minute drill? All right, find number 13, the jersey right behind your head. Get Mike Evans over the middle, set it up, and now you got Ibuka. And again, Anthony, they got him for $6 million. Then they got him for $30 million. You got rid of Tom Brady. Mind-boggling that this is like he could be the quarterback for the next 10 years for the Buccaneers.
He could. He really could. And you know what's funny is we would have a franchise quarterback for longer than like 5 years. And that would be amazing because I don't think I've ever seen that in my lifetime. Tom Brady only played for 3 years. Brad Johnson only played for like 3 or 4 years for the Bucs. So, you think of the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks for Tampa Bay. One, they've all been free agents. And two, their window wasn't very long in terms of their playing career for Tampa Bay. So Baker Mayfield could be one of the longest tenured quarterbacks for the Buccaneers for the foreseeable future. I think Jason Light's going to get a deal done. I mean, that's the thing too. Jason Light has done an amazing job because one, he was able to get Ibuka at the 19th pick. Didn't reach for anybody else. He went with the best player. And I think a lot of teams in the league right now are probably kicking themselves because they didn't go get this guy. Because I think where he was drafted, he's going to end up being more valuable than where he was. And again, that's just lucky for Tampa Bay because Jason Light does an amazing job. Because think about what this offense is going to be. Once we get Tristan Wirfs back, once we get Jalen McMillan back, once we get Chris Godwin back, who's stopping us at that point? As long as there's no serious injuries, you still got Bucky Irving. And, the O-line shuffle, I think that's going to take some time. I think the run game will get better as time goes on. But, again, Graham Barton, our first-round pick from last year, swings out to left tackle and actually does a pretty decent job. And you move Ben Bredesen to guard, and you add a guy from the practice squad that you signed at the beginning of training camp. The roster building over the course since Tom Brady's been there. Again, Jason Light did do a great job building a roster for Tom Brady once he arrived, but the building that he's done since he left, all credit goes to Jason Light and what this team has done because honestly, Mark, I'll say this. I think we're living in golden era of Buccaneers football. I really, really do because I can't think of a better time right now as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan of the success that this team has had. Now, granted, yeah, the NFC South hasn't been that good. The Saints are terrible. Carolina can't seem to figure it out. And Atlanta is threatening, but Atlanta's going to Atlanta. Tampa Bay's playing phenomenal football. They have a phenomenal roster. They're getting better and better. It's just building depth and building it with star players. And it's a very, very young roster in just the course of 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay. So before 2020, the last time you made the playoffs was like that
2007.
Was Raheem Morris the coach and like
John Gruden? Because that was John Gruden was the last time because it was 2007. Because then Gruden went into the next year in 2008, got a contract extension middle of the season because we were like 9-3 before the horrendous Carolina Monday night game where we got embarrassed on national TV, and then he got fired, and that's when Raheem Morris came in because Raheem Morris's first year was 2009.
Was Jeff Garcia the quarterback of that playoff game?
Yeah. Yes, he was because that was the Giants because we played the Giants before they went on their run to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Eli Manning beat you in that game. So I agree with you. Golden age where 5 straight playoff appearances now, 4 straight division titles. I'm thinking long tenured quarterbacks for you. Trent Dilfer was the quarterback for a long time, didn't win anything. This was like
I think he had 1, maybe 2 playoff wins because I know he did beat the Lions. In I think it was 97 or 96, and I think they made the playoffs in 95 too. So I think he might have had 1 or 2 playoff wins. But again, we're talking about I think he was drafted in 94. I want to say Dilfer, and then he played until when he got hurt in 99, so 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he might be.
Jameis 14 to 19, 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The list of quarterbacks that you could talk about in a fond way in Tampa Bay history, there are not many. I think you can talk fondly about Doug Williams, and that is truly about it before the year 2000.
Oh, yeah. Try being
Sean King. Sean King had a magical year in 99 as a rookie.
Yeah, Sean King went to NFC title game. You should have won that game, losing 11-6. Yeah, it's wild. That is a wild stat. Hey, try being a Cleveland Browns or Bears fan where quarterback play. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, dude, I feel for you last night. I thought, oh, wow, they're going to get off to a win. It was like 17-6 or something like that. I feel for you, man.
All right. They had like 10 or 11 penalties for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
They couldn't get the offense. Look, Ben Johnson's first game. I can't go into therapy with you. I don't have 5 hours. I don't. It's so. You know what's funny? It's like, okay, you talk about Baker Mayfield. He's in year 7. He was the first pick in 2018. He played for the Browns, got injured, won a playoff game, gets dumped, goes to Carolina, fails there. I don't even think he finished 1 year in Carolina. Nope. Maybe. Then they trade him to the Rams. Then the Bucs get him for not. Remember, when the Bucs got him, there was a feeling, oh, is Kyle Trask going to be the quarterback? What's going to happen here? For $6 million.
Yeah, $6 million. And I remember kind of being one of those guys, I'm like, maybe Kyle Trask is finally going to be that guy. He was, that underrated guy in Florida, and he turned Florida around, and, they go to a New Year's 6-day bowl game. I thought, okay, give Kyle Trask a year or two to develop in the NFL and he'll be ready. Obviously that wasn't the case. And obviously Baker Mayfield has done a phenomenal job. I'm thrilled with Tampa on how this entire thing has played out because we do have a franchise quarterback now. I think, listen, he's going to get $40 million next year, but it would not surprise me in the least if Tampa and Baker renegotiate in the middle of next offseason, as long as things go well, which considering all things, he didn't have a great game, but when he needed to be most, he made the throws that he needed to. And I think there's just a lot of rust, even though we saw more starters playing in the preseason, still wasn't enough. And I think that's what we saw a lot of in week 1. We'll see what happens in week 2. And it's going to be a big test against the Texans, especially against that pass rush and that secondary. So we'll see. But I love the fact that Baker Mayfield's the Bucs quarterback. He's doing phenomenal things. And hopefully he's going to be our quarterback for the very long foreseeable future.
I love the idea. There's a doubleheader for Monday night next Monday. So your Bucs play at 7 Eastern. Love it. Love it. We'll be done at 10. Fantastic. You want to play Sunday. So you want Sunday?
Well, no. Here's the thing. Can we not? I didn't mind doubleheader beginning of the year, to open up the season, do 2 Monday night games in week 1. Didn't have a problem with that. But can we just go? Because it's not like this is the only week that this happens. It's both Monday night games that the Bucs are on. They're doubleheaders. When Tampa plays the Detroit Lions in a couple of weeks, that's a doubleheader Monday night game because that game's going to start at 7 too. And this one's starting at 7. And I'm just kind of irritated because it's just like.
Do you feel like that you have to share it with another game? Is that what angers you? You want all the shine where it's the only game?
I want that to be the only game. And here's the thing. I don't mind it so much at 7, but it's just I still got to work a little bit on a Monday night. So I'm not going to be able to catch the whole thing.
Now it makes sense. Now it's coming out. That's what it is.
Right. I'm not going to be able to get there before kick. I'm not going to be able to get home before kickoff starts.
All right. So let's do this before I let you go. All right, what game are you calling on Friday night for Brevard Sports Network?
So I've got Cocoa at Heritage on Friday night. That's going to be a fun one. We'll see if a Brevard County team can knock off the Cocoa Tigers, and we're going to see if that Cocoa offense can really start putting some things together. Like I said, I think it's going to take some time, but I think they can do some really dangerous things. They've got a lot of great players on that team, and so I'm really, really curious to see how this game goes. I think this is going to be a great matchup of defenses. I do expect this to be a low-scoring ball game, though.
Okay, so I'm at Cocoa High School. I get in the car. How long does it take me going the speed limit to get to Heritage High School? An hour? What do you think it's going to take? If you're at Cocoa High School, I'm not kidding around. It is far.
I was about to say, because you're going to that bottom line almost of Brevard County. I'd say it probably would be if you got good traffic and good flow, 45 minutes, but you're probably right. An hour and 15 sounds about right to get down to Heritage and Palm Bay.
It's amazing. Look, 72 miles. That's how big this county is. It's the largest county in the state of Florida. All right, That's Friday night, and then the Bucs. Who do they play on Monday Night Football? 6-7 days from now.
Yeah, it's going to be the Houston Texans, and that's going to be a fun matchup. Like I said, I love the fact that we get to see this, AFC South and NFC South matchup between the two division winners from the last couple of years. It's going to be a fun one.
Anthony Nachreiner, thank you so much for coming on. Have a great day, and good luck with your call Friday.
Thanks, Mark.